Hello everyone, Alien Volt here, and I am playing H1Z1. This is my first impressions video. Alright, well the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at my video settings because they don't have me on 1080p for some reason, which is my native default on my monitors. So I'm going to adjust that. Everything's on ultra, the video settings are pretty basic, I don't see any advanced video. Alright, the sound options look pretty decent. You've got master volume, sound effects, UI volume, dialogue volume, and music master volume with ambient and encounter. The input options are what you find in most games: mouse sensitivity, aiming, scoped, and inverted mouse. I'm going to turn down my mouse because it does seem a little sensitive as I'm trying to turn. They've given you quite a few options for voice options, which is surprising, considering the graphic options aren't really there yet. Alright, let's take a look at the key bindings here. And there is no way to bind keys, so you're stuck with the default key bindings currently. I don't know when they plan on changing that. Hopefully it'll be soon. Okay, let's get to the game. The graphics actually look a little better than I expected. Most of the videos that I watched, I think they were a little distorted, maybe running on 720. Didn't quite look 1080p to me. The detail just didn't seem to be there. But it definitely seems to be here now. I like the movement of the character. The character inventory screen actually doesn't look bad at all. You can see everything you need to, your health meter, hydration, energy, what's in your inventory bags, how much space you have in each item that you're actually carrying, which surprisingly they give you inventory space for your t-shirt. Now H1Z1 is built on the newest version of Sony Entertainment's MMO engine, which is the basis for their popular games DC Universe and PlanetSide 2. A wolf! But he doesn't seem to be attacking. That's surprising, because in a lot of the pre-alpha footage that I've watched, the wolves and the bears, as well as the zombies, attack you. Overall, visually, I'm pretty happy with this so far. The coloring seems to be a little off. I mean, you're going to get a little bit more realistic color variations, I think, in DayZ, but the graphics in general, the detail they put into the trees, the leaves, I think look pretty good. As with DayZ, there is no map that you can actually view in-game of H1Z1. At least a functional map that you can see your location. And the map size is actually about a quarter of the size that you'll find in DayZ. Now, as far as how many people spawn in these servers, they haven't really released a concrete number yet for us. It's something they plan on adjusting as they determine the playability and how players are experiencing, you know, the PvP combat and the enjoyment overall of the game. Now you see these berries are 2D, but you can collect them. And when you first spawn into the game, this will probably serve as your primary source of food and water, because with each berry you gain 2 stats to each. And you definitely lose stats fairly quickly if you're not eating and drinking. You'll see here I've lost approximately 25% of my stats already for hunger and hydration. And at this point I think I'm less than 8 minutes into the game without any physical exertion. This is definitely an area that I feel that needs to be adjusted. For one, if you're going to pick a bush, maybe make it take a little longer to collect the bush, maybe a few seconds to collect it so that you're occupied doing it, but give you more berries. I mean, maybe 10 to 20 berries. And that should honestly satisfy your hunger for at least an hour in game. I mean, the primary aspect of this game is survival. But if that's all you're doing is surviving, you lose everything else. The game has a very nice crafting system, as well as the PvP. But unlike DayZ, there are PvE servers available. So if you don't want the PvP combat, you can actually go on the PvE servers. Resources are pretty scarce, especially when you first zone in here. And I have definitely made a rookie mistake by throwing down my flare, thinking that I could start a fire by throwing down some branches on top of it and some meat to cook. But that's not how it worked out. I basically wasted my flare. Now there are quite a few animals in the game. Like I mentioned, bears, wolves, there's also deer. You can kill these animals and chop them up, pretty simple, and gain meat and fats. The fats can actually be crafted into like a biofuel, and the meats are much better than the berries to eat. Now this wouldn't be a survival game without other human interaction, right? So not only will you find PvP interaction where people are just trying to kill you for no other reason than the fact that you're there, and you're going to meet people that are going to be friendly to you and maybe wave but keep their distance. Then you're going to meet people that actually want to go out of their way to help you. Jake the Snake here was a really cool dude. I hope I run into him at some other time in the future. I definitely want to be able to pay this guy back. He gave me pretty much everything that he had. All of his supplies, his weapons. Like I said, you know, he really hooked me up. He was logging out for the day and figured he would just pass on his stuff. He gave me some pointers, as well as showed me some emotes. Basically some some communication signals. And this is what makes this game fun. You know, you run into different people from all over the world, and you get to interact with them, and your interactions will be based on, you know, their type of personality. Either they're going to be somebody that's going to be cool and, you know, and friendly to an extent, or they're just going to be here to, you know, wreak havoc on people. Either way, I mean, how you play the game is completely up to you. And it wouldn't be a zombie apocalypse game, well, if you didn't have zombies. And this guy's just waiting to be butchered. Two things you'll notice right off the bat here. This guy is not attacking back. And it took quite a few swings with my machete. I'm actually on a headshot server. I didn't realize that until later on. So although my hits did damage and I eventually killed him, it would have been much quicker had I actually hit him in the head. And a little tribute there to Jake the Snake with some zombie love. So far looking at this game, you've probably established already that this game resembles DayZ a lot. In fact, I think the whole model of this game is pretty much based off of the concept and idea of DayZ. DayZ is a very successful zombie apocalypse survival horror game. However, DayZ is not going to be the only game you're going to find similarities to. Even the developers themselves have referenced other games such as The Dead Linger with building fortifications. But they've taken it a step further. You can actually build your own base, your own house, you know, fortify it any way you want, just like you could in a forest. Now you'll also find things like an elaborate crafting system like 7 Days to Die. You're going to find that this game has an in-game store where you can buy items. But it's not just buying an item like in games like Infestation. It's more like PlanetSide 2, but even then it's even different. So far what they've allowed is something like an airdrop. And now the airdrop drops this crate, you don't know what's going to be in it. And then I get the chance of, you know, getting a weapon or some type of crafting supplies. Is that an unfair advantage? Well, sure, it could be. I've heard a lot of complaints already, especially on Twitch, where people are complaining that these airdrops, you know, someone grabs a, you know, automatic rifle with ammo and they just mow everyone down. It's definitely an unfair advantage. Now, the developer's idea of balancing this is that these crates that you buy, these airdrops, are not just for you. They're open. Anyone can go up and grab them if you know, have the ability to open them. They sell keys. Now think about it. You pay $1 for an airdrop. You may not even get the item that drops. Hell, you could spend $20 on airdrops and never get the item that drops. Someone else could get it. And then you'll have to kill that person for the airdrop. Is that fair or unfair? Is it any more fair that if you got it immediately in your inventory and put it on and someone killed you afterwards and looted it, they'd still have it and you'd lose it? Interesting dilemma. Personally, I don't think I'm going to be buying any airdrops. And I hope it's something they actually tweak a little bit and nerf. I really don't think you should be able to get weapons in these air crates. Originally they said it was going to be nothing that was going to be game changing. Well, getting a fully automatic assault rifle with ammo is game changing. I'm sorry, it really is. Especially when everyone else is running around with crafted bows or sticks or machetes or hammers they happen to pick up. It's game changing. You can shoot people from a range and kill them that they have no chance to defend themselves from, outside of just running and hoping you miss. So I'm going to have to agree with the complaints in that respect. I mean, you've implemented something that you said you weren't going to do. It's definitely game breaking for whoever ends up with the weapon. The only thing you're really not controlling is putting the weapon in someone's inventory. You're leaving it up to the community, the player base, to determine who actually gets to the weapon and equips it. If it in fact even drops a weapon. It may not. But I would definitely like to see it nerfed and make it something more like supplies. Crafting supplies, food, you know, bandages. Something a little bit more reasonable. You know, maybe cosmetic items. But weapons, I think I'd like to see that go on the wayside. Now the crates may not be fought over nearly as much if the items of value are more cosmetic or supply based, but I think they'll still be fought over. Because finding the things you need in this game sometimes are difficult. They're definitely spread out. The respawn rates on items don't seem to be very quick, which can be painful when finding supplies just to stay alive. I mean, you can survive off berries, but you'll notice here that it takes a long time to eat berries. If your health drops down, you're going to have to eat 50 berries, and it's not like DayZ where you can eat all. You're eating one at a time. Now, the community was very upset upon release of this game because this game has been advertised as a free-to-play game from the beginning. But yet, under alpha stages, releasing the game early, for early access, you're required to pay for it. Again, you're required to pay to get this game to test it for them rather than them paying you. I mean, in the past, this was always something that game developers paid people to come in and test their games. Play their levels, find glitches, find errors. And now, rather than doing it for free to help a developer out and develop a game that the community actually wants, we're expected to pay for this, only to be given away free to people later on. Not really the best business decision I think that they made. Sure, I'm sure they're going to sell a ton of copies because people really want to play this game. They want to see it. They want to try it out. They've been following it for a long time. And people that are very impatient, like myself, are going to pay for it. The base package is $19.99. And with that, you get the game, 3 event tickets, 2 crates, and 1 crate key. And then there's the $40 version, $39.99. It includes early access to H1Z1, 25 event tickets, 3 airdrop tickets, 6 crates, and 4 keys for the crates, as well as an exclusive aviator hat crafting recipe. Now this is something I would normally pay for a game, but I'd pay for a game that was going to be released later at the same or a greater price, not free. And you might say, well, DayZ sold for $20 originally and now it's $35. But the difference is DayZ is going to continue to increase in price until it reaches its goal, which will probably end up being somewhere around $39 or $49, maybe even $59 upon final release. Or H1Z1 is just going to be like DC Universe and PlanetSide 2. It's free. There is no charge. So what should you expect if you go ahead and you buy this game in early access? Well, like any early access game, you should expect glitches. And lots of them. This game is in no way, shape, or form ready for full release. It is playable, and it's very playable at that. I think you'll have a very enjoyable experience with it. It plays a lot like DayZ, only more arcadish and action-based. H1Z1 may end up being the World of Warcraft for zombie survival horror. It's taken some of the best ideas and gameplay from other games and incorporated it all together, just as WoW did with MMOs. Like it or hate it, H1Z1 will be a contender for the top zombie apocalypse survival horror game. I think that about wraps up my first impressions of day 1 of playing H1Z1. I'm going to end this video here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.